Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Terrell.
My name is Brendan.
And we are BNT Reacts, and today we're going to be checking out Film Theory. Should Disney buy Spider-Man for $10 billion? Disney versus Sony. That's a lot of money, $10 billion.
Disney's got it.
But that's like pocket change.
Initial thoughts, no.
I think they should buy it. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero.
I don't think Sony should let them. Because I don't want Disney owning everything.
I don't know. I love Spider-Man, so I'm here for it. I don't know. I
love Spider-Man too.
I don't know much about, because I know, Sony and Disney had, this thing, last year, so I didn't know much about it. Yeah. But, he's going to tell us.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
So, yeah, we're definitely excited to check this out, so let's get into it. Oh, it's on a timer.
Can we please just call this? It's obvious you're gonna win. You own all the railroads, you own all the utilities, you have hotels on every square but one.
Then we keep playing. I told you I want it all.
That's Disney.
Oh, Mickey.
You know, you were a lot more fun when I was a kid.
Agreed.
Now you get older and you just realize, all the shady stuff that Disney be doing.
I know. So
when Disney was so, good when you were a kid, but now it's wow.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory.
I love
our
Film
final
Theory.
episode, not just of the year, but of the decade. Provided this episode remains short enough and is able to fit in between all the editors taking vacation. You know, 2019 was a pretty fantastic year for movies. We had the returns of animated classics. We had the finales to some of the most massive cinematic story arcs in history. And outside of the blockbuster space, just some really solid films overall. Parasite is great. Lighthouse is great. Marriage Story is great. Dr. Sleep is great. And all of those are from, the last 2 months. But today, with it being the end of the decade, I wanted to look back at what will undoubtedly be the biggest story of this decade in movie making. A story that will continue to shape the cinematic and, quite honestly, corporate world moving forward. Actually, it's 2 stories wrapped up together in one. The massive success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Marvel
and
is
Disney's
huge.
ever-expanding control
Disney is huge,
over
too.
all the media that we love.
They
or
own Marvel.
at least
I
used
know.
to love. Ain't that right, Rise of Skywalker? I see you, or more accurately, I see the audience responses to you. In case you're not already aware, Disney over the last decade has just taken over everything.
Yes.
At the top of the decade, they had just bought Marvel. 2 years later, they would buy Star Wars. Now, fast forward to today, and they have Fox, as well as the most massively successful day one streaming service in history with Disney Plus. And that's not even with me mentioning ESPN, Hulu, ABC.
They have
It's
Hulu?
I
I didn't even know they had Hulu.
They've managed to convert most pieces to their color, or else eliminate all the other pieces from the board.
Wow.
But there is
I'm
still
shook
one
now.
powerful piece at play here. It's a queen, and that queen is Spider-Man. Alright, so maybe it wasn't the cleanest metaphor, but still, you get the point.
Spider-Man
One of
the
this year's
win.
biggest entertainment stories was
Zendaya!
the ongoing battle
Tom
between
Holland.
Disney and Sony for the rights over Spider-Man. Like a child caught in a divorce, Spider-Man's existence has been a state of joint custody over the last couple years. And earlier this year, after a few awkward attempts to renegotiate their agreement, rumors started swirling that Disney might now be trying to straight up purchase Spider-Man's movie rights. The price tag is rumored to be as high as $10 billion.
$10 billion?
With a
That's
B,
a lot
and
of
as
money.
low as $4 to $5 billion.
That's still a lot of money.
That's still 4 to 5.
Just
It's still a
the
lot.
entirety of Marvel for $4 billion a decade ago. The question we're planning on exploring today is, should Disney make the deal? Is Spider-Man actually worth $10 billion? If not, what is he worth? But loyal theorists, it's more than that. It's not just a price tag that we're talking about here. It's also
Spider-Man is
a
worth
game
more than
of cat and mouse with the highest stakes possible. It's game theory, as both sides of this argument try to outwit and outplay the other. But before we get to that part of this tangled little web, let's take a quick rundown of how Disney and Sony got to this point to begin with. It's important to keep in mind that Spider-Man's movie rights were first sold off in 1985.
Dang.
And they've taken a far different ownership path than Spider-Man's merchandising rights. The merch rights were secured by Disney back in 2011 for $278 million.
Oh my.
So already, just 2 sentences into this thing, you have yourself a weird scenario. All of those Spider-Man toys, PJs, and lunchboxes that you're buying, that money is already going back to restock the Disney vault. Not the vault where they keep the movies they're creating full scarcity for, no, the big one. The one full of sacks of cash, gold bars, and Walt's cryogenically
They do keep those
frozen
movies in
head.
the vault.
What we're
Just take them
focusing on
out.
today,
They bring them back. They
arguments
bring
are
them back.
over are the Spider-Man movie rights. rights. Just the ability to make movies about Spider-Man. Now, those rights got bounced around for a decade and a half before they were eventually licensed to Columbia Pictures, the main film subsidiary of Sony, back in 1999 for, get this, $10 million. Plus 5% of any movie's gross revenues and half the revenue of consumer products. Anyway, that's beside the point. A big reason why the movie rights were bounced around so much and why they sold for so unbelievably cheap is the poor box office performance of Superman 3 in 1983. Yeah, true story. After Superman 3 flopped, Hollywood was hesitant to make feature film adaptations of comic book properties for a couple decades afterward. But Sony's 1999 acquisition of Spider-Man changed all of it. That deal brought us Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I love the original Spider-Man.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it in a while, but I need to rewatch them.
Smash hits. The trilogy, which cost them $597 million to make, went on to collectively gross $2.5 billion.
Yeah, that's money worth spending.
That's like a $2 billion profit.
That we find ourselves in today. The following decade, Sony rebooted the Spider-Man franchise with director Mark Webb. The Amazing Spider-Man duology starring Andrew Garfield was admittedly less financially successful.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was okay. I like the first. It was okay. It wasn't
way better
the best.
But alas, hair does not matter.
I like
Money
that.
does. By the time 2015
rolled around,
Emma
Stone was
Sony
good
had
though.
themselves an uncool Spider-Man character, and Disney had.
He was good. It just wasn't. I don't know. I didn't like him as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
sure. At this point,
that's what a lot of people.
Iron Man, Captain America,
he's a good actor,
but still, no one can top Batman, Superman, and especially Spider-Man when it comes to superhero name recognition. So Sony and Disney/Marvel saw a mutually beneficial opportunity to get Spider-Man into the wildly successful MCU. They struck a deal that applied to a new generation of Spider-Man films. Basically, the deal allowed Sony to distribute and have final creative control over MCU films where Spider-Man is the main character, like Homecoming, Far From Home, and potentially Into the Spider-Verse, while Disney distributed the ones where Spider-Man isn't the main character, like Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So for 4 years, it basically worked like this. Whenever Disney wanted Spider-Man to appear in an Avengers movie such as Endgame, they were allowed to do it. Disney produced and distributed the movie. That is to say, Disney paid the bill, had creative control over the movie, and then they marketed the movie. As owners of Spider-Man merchandising rights, Disney also collected themselves 100% of Spider-Man merch sales. So basically, Disney took all the risk and reaped all the rewards. In short, Sony was basically lending Spider-Man to Disney so that Disney could make Spider-Man cool again. In return, the deal also said that if Sony wanted to make their own Spider-Man movie starring Tom Holland, well, they were allowed to do it. Sony, for these movies, would pay to produce and distribute those movies.
We have an ad. It's an ad. So Tom Holland is going back and forth between Disney.
I was about to say that. I'm like, that must what is his contract like? Like that must be complicated.
They would have final creative control. They would market it, and for their efforts, they would take home 95% of what that movie made. Meanwhile, Disney got 5% of whatever that film grossed.
Disney still getting 8%
of Spider-Man merch sales. So let's illustrate all these numbers with an example, shall we? Let's say that some
Disney is getting more overall no matter what.
Avengers Endgame. Spider-fan, but also buys a $10 Spider-Man t-shirt in the lobby because he's like, man, Spider-Man was so cool in that movie. Per the 2015 agreement, all 20 of those dollars spent go to Disney. $0 go to Sony, even though Sony owns the rights for Spider-Man to appear in movies. This is because Spider-Man's essentially just making an appearance in a Disney-produced, Disney-distributed film. Now let's say that our Spider-Fan buys a $10 ticket to Spider-Man Homecoming and still spends $10 on a Spider-Man t-shirt. Well, Homecoming is a Sony-produced, Sony-distributed movie, which means
Disney gets 11 and they get 9.
50 cents of that ticket sale while still getting all $10 of the t-shirt sale, meaning in total Disney got $10.50 off of Spider-Man's
and they got
$9.75. And Sony only takes home $9.50. Doesn't seem like that bad of a deal for Disney, considering
I thought it said 25 cents
at
at first.
a single dime to help finance that movie. So that deal stayed in place for years, at least until
that's kind of unfair to Sony.
Spider-Man Far From Home became their highest-grossing film of all time. That's when Sony and Disney returned to the negotiation table to see how they might arrange to share Spider-Man for years to come. Admittedly, the following info is pieced together from various anonymous sources and rumors over the past few months, but what appears to have happened is this. Despite having merch rights and a portion of Sony's ticket sales, Disney wanted more. They wanted a new
Why,
deal.
Disney?
So greedy.
Rude.
The MCU's role in
Get
Spider-Man's massive resurgence in film. After
I don't
all,
think
when
Disney
Sony
is
tried
watching.
to reboot Spider-Man on their own, they got The Amazing Spider-Man. Great hair, not so great box office performance. But after the MCU MCU got involved, Far From Home became Sony's biggest movie ever. So, as the stories go, Sony offered to sell the movie rights to Spider-Man for $10 billion. That is a very, very high number, which seemed to be Sony's way of saying there is no multiverse in history where they'd ever sell Spider-Man. Remember, all of Marvel was bought 10 years ago for just the low cost of $4 billion. Not surprisingly, Disney declined the offer. So for a moment, it looked like the Sony-Disney Spider-Man
stand up to Disney.
Over, meaning that Spider-Man would no longer be allowed to be a part of the MCU. But when fans found out that that was going to be the case, the backlash was massive. Disney, and especially Sony, seemed to recognize the benefit of their mutual partnership. And near the end of the summer, they agreed to a new deal. A new deal that allows Spider-Man to remain a part of the MCU as well as Sony films, just like he was in the previous agreement. The anonymous sources familiar with this new 2019 agreement, which is currently in effect as of this video being made, is similar to the 2015 agreement in that it lets Sony keep the film rights to Spider-Man and still lets Marvel use the character in MCU films, but the details have been tweaked a little bit. Now, Disney will help pay for 25% of those Sony distributed films, but in return they get 25% of the profits. And Disney also gets to do a Spider-Man movie of their own in 2021.
No, now y'all doing too much.
Agreed to take on more of the financial risk.
Disney, they trying to be slick. Disney trying to be
more
slick.
Of the financial reward. Fair enough. But really, it's Sony who got everything they wanted out of this deal. They managed to keep the film rights to Spider-Man, they managed to keep Spider-Man as part of the MCU, and their share of the profits still match what they're paying for when it comes to producing these movies. Essentially, they managed to survive the wrath of both Marvel fans and Disney, and their characters emerged from the fray as beloved by fans as ever.
Go off, Sony.
Disney, however, evidently didn't get everything they wanted out of the deal, because just a few weeks after that agreement was made, more rumors started to fly. Apparently, Disney is still interested in buying those Spider-Man movie rights, but for about half of what Sony's looking for, closer to $5 billion.
Don't give in, Sony.
That's still a lot of money.
Admittedly, we're dealing with
I'm not even gonna say don't give in. That's still a lot of money.
Here, but the bottom line is
that's
this
$5
deal
billion.
Gonna go down? Are Spider-Man's film rights really worth that huge amount of money? Let's check out the numbers, shall we? To start off with, let's look at some comparisons. Here are the price tags for a few other major Disney acquisitions in recent years. In 2012, Disney bought Lucasfilm for $4.06 billion.
Yeah, Star Wars is huge.
That gave them full rights to the Star Wars universe, to Indiana Jones, and
I don't think.
But I
love Spider-Man, but I don't think he's bigger than Star Wars.
As I mentioned before, Disney bought Marvel
I don't think he's bigger than Star Wars, or like Marvel overall.
Disney acquired Pixar.
It's not even about how popular he is. I just don't want Disney to be a monopoly.
Disney dropped $71.3 billion for 21st Century Fox. So obviously Disney has deep enough pockets to drop a cool $4 to $5 billion if they want to. But
Disney got
really
money,
so they can pay $10 billion for Spider-Man.
But they're saying Spider-Man isn't worth it.
Well, then don't. You can't accept.
The Duck. Remember, we are still only talking about.
Then Disney is. They're gonna still make it. They're gonna be still making the most money. So regardless, Disney is still making the most money. So that's Sony losing overall.
Revenue stream associated with Star Wars.
With time, Sony is losing more money.
There is no way a deal like that could ever make sense, right? Right? To get a better idea, let's play a fun little game I like to call How Much More Would Disney Have Made? Before we jump in, 2 quick points to emphasize just how back of the napkin the following math will be. 1, not only are the details of the ongoing Disney-Sony negotiations proprietary and therefore super secret, but 2, film industry accounting is really shady. It is, maybe that's a bad way of putting it, it is hardly straightforward. So the reported numbers aren't always a great representation of the film's financial success, but still, we'll do what we can with what we have. Let's do some math, shall we? Spider-Man Far From Home was made under the 2015 agreement. It cost $160 million to make and has so far grossed $1.132 billion. Per that 2015 agreement, Disney received 5% of the first dollar grosses, meaning they pocketed $56.6 million for just being there. Again, remember,
that's a lot of money.
They paid $0 to finance that film. It was totally Sony made, and Disney just gets 5% because Spider-Man exists in the MCU. Not too shabby. Now let's imagine that same movie was made under the rules of this new 2019 agreement. How much more money would Disney have made? Disney in this case would have put up a quarter of the money to finance that $160 million film.
I like this little pie chart.
In turn, they would have received 25% of that $1.132 billion
See, that's a lot
that
of money.
the film earned. So in this super fictitious scenario where Hollywood accounting is clear-cut, Disney would have received themselves $273 million. Taking away the $40 million they spent to make the thing, all told, Disney would have walked away with $233 million had the 2019 agreement been in place for Far From Home. So already you can see how the 2019 agreement is making them a lot more money. But now let's imagine if Disney went ahead and bought all the film rights for themselves, and they produced and distributed Far From Home themselves at the same cost that Sony did. The film makes $1.132 billion, and Disney spends $160 million to make the movie. In this scenario, Disney walks away with a cool $972 million.
Almost $1 billion.
So this confirms what we already suspected. If Disney can get the Spider-Man movie rights, they stand to make a huge amount of additional money. But is it
the rose and the ticket.
Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. In this super simplified scenario that we just constructed, the bottom line is that if Disney had the film rights to Spider-Man, Disney would stand to make $739 million more than they currently make on a Sony-financed film. If Disney were to buy Spider-Man's film rights for $5 billion, they would have to make 7 standalone Spider-Man universe films in order to recoup their investment. That might sound like a lot of movies to add into a market that's already been saturated with Spider-Man films for the past 17 years, but here's the thing.
It's
the
not a
big
lot,
twist
though.
that makes this entire deal a complete no-brainer. The Spider-Man rights include more characters than just the Peter Parker Spider-Man that we all know
Spider-Man
and love.
is already...
Spider-Man is a universe in and of itself.
Every couple years a new Spider-Man emerges, so they make more Spider-Man movies.
And
that Spider-Verse opened up so many doors.
Disney is trying to
cheat. They can make with Miles, Gwen, Venom, Mary Jane, Doc Ock, etc., etc. I mean, in practically 1 year, Sony released Far From Home, Into the Spider-Verse, and Venom. In total, 3 movies that collectively earned about $2.4 billion.
Jesus Christ.
2.4 in just 3 movies, all of which are connected to Spider-Man, and all of which are only made possible because
now I'm seeing why Spider-Man...
Okay. And if Disney secures
Spider-Man.
creative control over the character, that means they're free to make Peter Parker the new leader of the Avengers, as has been rumored over and over again. This helps Disney reboot the entire Avengers franchise for a new generation with a character that is just as big of a name brand as Batman or Superman. You're not having to dip into the Eternals or Shang-Chi in order to do it. Even the most pessimistic Disney accountant would have to admit that $5 billion for Spider-Man is a pretty good deal. Because remember, Disney doesn't even need to recoup the entire $5 billion from profits off of the movies alone. As they invest more in Spider-Man as a film character, they might be able to sell the film rights someday for just as much, if not more money.
And now
Remember,
with the new
Sony
Avengers, they can make Spider-Man the lead Avenger and get more money.
Basically $10 million. If those rights are now worth $5 billion, that's a 500 times return on their investment in 20 years. Furthermore, Disney might believe it can get a higher return on its films than Sony was able to. Rightfully so. 6 of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time are Disney movies. In the 21st century, nobody even comes close to matching Disney's box office success. So a $5 billion buy from Disney seems like a slam dunk for the mouse. Heck, even a $10 billion buy seems at least worth it.
Yeah, Disney trying to get over y'all.
Why are they not doing it? Why are they not saying yes to this deal? Well, why pay $10 billion for something when you might be able to get the whole thing for free? Oh yeah. Disney looks like they might be trying to get Spider-Man for $0. But if they wait too long, the whole thing might just blow up in their face. And that, my friends, is where things start to get really juicy when it comes to this deal. But we're gonna have to save that half of the story for next time.
No!
35 pages into the script, and there's already no way that this is gonna get out before the end of the year like I wanted. I'm sorry, editors! Why are so many of our editors taking so long of a break for this holiday season? I can't begrudge them. It's been a long year. Anyway, in the meantime, happy holidays.
Oh, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Just a theory. A film theory. And make sure you web shoot that subscribe button to be here when part 2 of this episode drops.
Yeah, we have to definitely watch part 2.
You don't want to miss what's coming up next. It is
wow.
I hate Disney. I mean, I love them.
I
hate
Disney.
them.
I don't hate Disney. I love Disney. They are really greedy, though.
I know. I don't want them to just, that annoys me.
See, a part of me was, okay, I'm kind of in the fence because a part of me was on Disney's side, was like, is Spider-Man worth 10 billion? Is Spider-Man worth 10 billion really? Because like it's only one character, and yes, this one character spawns so many other characters and so many other stories, and he can like Spider-Man. You can just keep recycling the actors, and like it's a new Spider-Man like you can do that. But like I understand that, but like is he worth 10 billion? But then like also you gotta think about Disney. They are just being greedy, and like they're at the end of the day they're making more money, and they just want to make more money. And if Sony gives away Disney, if Sony gives away Spider-Man to Disney, then I think that's it. Like for the box office and the movie, I think Disney will be like they got everything.
I mean, like I liked when the little part that I liked is when he had like the cashier like behind the counter, and it had like the only other like respectable film franchises. Yeah. And it was like Harry Potter, Mission Impossible, and like Spider-Man, and like I don't even remember the other ones, but it was like because it's like those are the only ones that Disney doesn't own. Yeah, and it's like they need to calm down. Like the agreement they have now,
to take over.
Yeah, I know.
Like you can tell from like Disney Plus that Disney is trying to take over everything.
They are.
Because now annoying. Disney is at a war with Netflix. Not only Sony, but now they're at a war with Netflix and Nickelodeon. Like, it's so crazy. The last decade, how Disney took over is so crazy. Like, everything is Disney. Everything is Disney.
Disney's, like, attached to everything somehow. Like, it's always Disney.
I don't know. I'm definitely excited to see part 2 of this video.
I am, too.
And
I want to
see, like, Sony's side of the story and, like,
and
see
how
they profit.
Free.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see that.
I don't know. We're definitely excited to check out this part 2.
Oh my god. But Disney they need to calm down. Y'all are making so much money.
Yeah, they are.
And like it's almost like not fair. Like you won't, like if Disney gets all the power, then like nobody will be able to like really make
it's like
films.
everything is just Disney.
Yeah.
They're money hungry and like control hungry and like
they need to stop.
Power hungry.
They need to stop.
Yeah. I don't know, guys, but that is all for this reaction. If you like this reaction, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you also hit that subscribe button and comment down below for more reaction requests. It can be more film theory or anything. I know we're definitely going to react to. Yeah,
we got to react to part 2.
Yeah, we definitely react to part 2 because we definitely want to see that. I'm so interested to see the other side of things.
I am so interested.
Jesus Christ, Disney is just.
They need to stop. They need to calm the hell down.
Yeah, guys, but that is all for this reaction, and we are out. Bye. Bye.